Hello, everyone. I am Boason Omofaye here at the FMDQ Archive Room in Lagos, Nigeria. My guest speaking on the state of African markets is Mr. Thapele Tsheole, a former president of the African Securities Exchanges Association. I formerly worked in Botswana as the head of the SEC and the Botswana Stock Exchange, and currently the CEO of Afrinex Exchange in Mauritius. Great to have you this afternoon. Thank you for speaking with us.
Thank you for having me on the program.
It's good to see you in the new year. Thank you so much, sir. Let's hit the ground running in a manner of speaking. Tell me a little bit about Afrinex Exchange in Mauritius. What is this exchange all about? What type of companies have you onboarded, and how's the operation going?
Yeah, the Afrinex Exchange it's a Pan-African stock exchange forecast. It came as a collaboration between the government of India and the government of Mauritius. And therefore, the entities that are shareholders on the exchange are mainly from India and some entities, state-owned entities in Mauritius. And therefore, it's an exchange that lists across instruments. There are debt instruments listed, not yet equity, but we only had one equity listing so far. But the market capitalization is about $12 billion, and it's actually fast developing into one of the bigger exchanges into the continent.
Oh, very interesting. So, when you talk about your 2025 operations, give me a little bit of a look back into last year. How much was the exchange able to achieve? Are there new listings? Are you looking at new IPOs, the pipeline of products that you provide the market last year, and how you were able to connect the exchange to the entire financial markets architecture of Mauritius and the companies that are onboarded on the exchange?
Yeah. Obviously, the exchange was formed to be much more Pan-African. It plays much more into the mainland Africa continent, and also with some companies from India. And therefore, we have about a number of issuers, more than close to 20 issuers, listed bonds worth about $12.5 billion. And most of our issuers are companies from India and also companies from Africa. And therefore, the exchange was formed to provide a platform for some of the African companies across the continent to list both debt and equity, and also to trade both debt and equity. But we are also going to be looking at some of the special instruments like the ETFs. So far, the issuers that we have are mainly from India and Africa. But we are also in 2025, we have started the implementation of our state-of-art technology, the AT automated trading system. We are working on finalizing the depository. And the main supplier is one of our shareholders, who is Bombay Stock Exchange, who are supplying our technology here. So we're in the process of finalizing and launching the technology. But currently, we also have a platform where companies can actually raise capital, and then we do private placement. There are a number of companies that have raised capital in our market, and through our platform called Afritree, where a company doesn't necessarily have to list, but can come to the market and raise capital, and then that capital is actually deployed. And then the way we do that way is there's actually some private placement and some financiers who are coming on board to finance those companies.
Great. Also, so let's talk about competition with the Mauritius Stock Exchange. Okay, yeah. Talk to me a bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, the stock exchange of Mauritius, really, I wouldn't say we are actually competing with them. I think we are complementing some aspect of making Mauritius as a financial hub. I mean, we know that throughout Africa, Mauritius is the number one financial hub in Africa. Mauritius is actually used as an entry and exit into mainland Africa. And therefore, where we play part mainly for us as a stock exchanges, we are multi-currency, as a multi-currency and multi-product stock exchange with much more focused into Africa. Mauritius have got a lot of domestic listings from Mauritius, of course, and some level of some international listings. But for us, our main play is basically to play more into African continent, and also play more into India and connecting India with Africa, and also Asia with Africa, because we are right now having a very good pipeline from Asia who want to list some of the product into our market. And therefore, we're actually going to be taking some of the Asian product and channeling them into Africa, and also taking some African product and channeling them into India and into Asia, which is actually where not most exchanges actually playing into. And we're actually in talks with a number of stock exchanges in Africa to collaborate in terms of IPOs to supplement the demand for capital in Africa. Because like we are saying, the African continent and economy is growing at a very large scale and at a fast pace. And the need for capital is actually very big. I mean, the piece of cake is actually too big for anyone to try to do it alone across Africa. And therefore, we are going to be supplementing and complementing majority of the exchanges in Africa to help them raise capital, to dual list some of their stocks, to bring in some of the Indian investors and Asian investors into the African market.
Very, very interesting. But let's talk about Afrinex Exchange, your exchange, and Mauritius. Mauritius is known as the financial supermarket, the financial house on the Indian Ocean, supporting Africa in terms of providing that bridge between Asia and other developed markets around the world with the continent. How much of this financial markets deepening for sub-Saharan Africa is Afrinex Exchange looking to support? You just talk about India, Asia. What else are you doing there for the Mauritius as that major hub for the continent?
Yeah, I think, as you know, it's also important to note that our exchange mainly trade in dollars. All instruments that are listed in our exchange are actually traded in dollars. And therefore, Mauritius is actually used as a platform for companies to enter Africa. You realize that a lot of Indian companies and a lot of Asian companies have actually penetrated mainland Africa using Mauritius. And this helps actually us as Afrinex. Also is the role that we play as Afrinex in terms of deepening the capital markets in here, utilizing Mauritius as a gateway into and out of Africa. And that is what we have been able to easily do. And that's why our plans are actually going to be focused, and we're having a very good pipeline of listings, both equity and debt. And we're also looking at to launching some of the instrument like the ETFs.
Very good. So let's talk about the current year, which is just about 2 weeks to the end of the first quarter. What's your strategies and outlook for the current year at Afrinex Exchange, and how is the new year starting off there in Mauritius for you?
Yeah, I think the year started off really fine in Mauritius. I was brought in as the new CEO of Afrinex in January this year to really speed up the process of implementation of the strategy of Afrinex, and especially to actually take the new initiatives into Afrinex based on my knowledge into Africa and also my way of knowing how business is actually done into Africa. I was brought in especially for that. But most importantly is that already in the first quarter of the year, we have actually even signed an MOU with India International Exchange based in Gift City. Gift City is a special economic zone in India. It's a financial district in India, which have just started in Gujarat. We've actually signed an MOU with India International Exchange. And this MOU is targeted towards knowledge sharing, number one, product initiation. We are going to be taking some of the products from India and then putting them into Africa. And also we are going to be facilitating some of the African companies to actually access Indian capital through Gift City and through Afrinex. And this have already been done in the first quarter of the year. Already so far, we have a mutual agreement, although I can't disclose the name, with 4 stock exchanges in Africa to do cross listings and IPOs together.
So you've been very busy in the new year, Mr. Tsheole. So when you look at the continent, you've been the president of ASEA, and you've run the Botswana Stock Exchange as well as the SEC for some time before you now engage out of Mauritius. So give me your outlook for the current year for Africa as a whole, Africa's capital market for the current year, looking at developments from around the world in terms of the Iranian conflict and the concerns about inflation and whether interest rate cuts will still come through from the US and other developed economies, and what this could mean for the investment and financial markets of Africa. What are your thoughts as you see things develop geopolitically around the Middle East, around the existing Russia-Ukraine crisis and all of that? Talk to me on that.
Yeah, I think it is now coming to a reality for everyone in the world, given the geopolitics that Africa is the place to be. And Africa is going to be the place to be. It's very fundamental looking at the geopolitics, the wars, the inflation issues, the development in terms of Africa. It is very clear that, African economies are the ones that are experiencing a highest level of GDP growth. Africa have 1.2 billion people. And that's why for Afrinex, we want to leverage to serve this 1.2 people, coupled with 1.4 billion people in India. And if you take the total global population of about 5 billion or 5 point something billion, and then for Afrinex, you're actually going to be looking at the market, which actually serves 1 billion plus 1.2 billion together. That's about more than 40% of the world population. If you look at the past year, the African stock exchanges actually outperformed all exchanges in the whole world. And even in the first half of the year, you can see that the African exchanges are actually doing quite well. And this is also coupled by the young population, the growing population in Africa, and the enormous stability that we are seeing across Africa relative to the Middle East, which we have ordinarily thought is one of the most stable continent or part of the world. Now you see Africa is taking shape and the future is Africa.
Very interesting, Mr. Thapele Tsheole. It's been great speaking with you as we try to wrap up the first quarter of the month. Thank you so much. It's nice touching base with you there at Afrinex Exchange in Mauritius. Hope you had a very fantastic day and the rest of the year. We'll be touching base with you when you make some of those big deals, connecting the bridge between India, Asia, and Africa. Let's be the first to know. Thank you so much. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you. Have a great day too.
Thank you so much, Thapele Tsheole, the CEO at Afrinex Exchange, speaking to me here live from the FMDQ Securities Exchange in Lagos, Nigeria. Thanks. Bye for now.